The Galactic Empire had existed for 11,000 years. Its banners hung over 10,000 star systems, and its rulers believed the expansion would continue without end. No rebellion had ever lasted more than a season. No uprising had ever cost more than a fraction of a fleet. When new civilizations were encountered, they bowed, traded, or disappeared. Power was measured in fleets and firepower, and by that measure the Empire was invincible. When humanity appeared in the Orion Arm, the High Council assumed it would follow the same pattern. Their initial envoys noted a species still using chemical propulsion within living memory, still arguing over planetary borders, still untested in real interstellar conflict. Primitive, some called them. Charming, said others, because humans smiled even when they disagreed. In the polished halls of Imperial policy, this was taken as a sign of weakness. But unsettling reports arrived from the frontier. Pirates who preyed on human trade lanes vanished without trace, their fleets never found. Border skirmishes ended before Imperial observers could even classify the weapons used. A patrol squadron sent to enforce terror compliance jumped into human space and never returned. No wreckage, no distress call, only silence. These incidents were dismissed as coincidences, anomalies not worth serious investigation. Still, a whisper circulated in quiet offices. Humanity had teeth, though no one knew how sharp. The Council decided to summon a representative of Earth to the Imperial capital. It would be a ceremony of diplomatic integration, a ritual that other species had passed through without trouble. A single human diplomat arrived unescorted, traveling aboard a leased freighter, declining military protection. He carried no bodyguards, no staff, no gifts, only a thin slate containing trade proposals and an official letter of greeting. The absence of pomp was considered an insult, though the man explained it simply. We prefer to speak plainly. He was polite, calm, almost disarmingly ordinary. He requested no audience with the Emperor, only with the foreign ministry. When told the meeting would occur in the Grand Hall of Concord, under the gaze of the High Council and their security guards, he merely nodded. Imperial analysts studied his background and found nothing remarkable. Mid-level diplomat, veteran of several minor trade agreements, no military service record, no sign of specialized cybernetic implants or combat training. He was clean, too clean. In quiet conference rooms, Imperial officers debated whether to stage a demonstration of strength. It would not do to let an upstart species think themselves equal to the throne of 10,000 worlds. The decision was made to arrest a human envoy during his formal introduction, to remind his people that power was measured not in words but in chains. The operation was approved without dissent. It would be quick, bloodless, and humiliating. The day of the assembly, the Grand Hall glittered with crystalline light. Delegates from every arm of the Empire filled tiered balconies, murmuring in anticipation. The human walked to the center of the chamber, alone, wearing an ordinary suit, carrying only the translation device slung at his belt. He inclined his head politely as the Emperor's voice echoed through the chamber, announcing that negotiations would begin after a brief demonstration of Imperial order. At a signal, armored guards advanced. Their weapons were ceremonial but deadly. The human did not move. Restraint cuffs closed over his wrists. The sound of locking metal rang through the hall. He smiled faintly as he was turned toward the exit. The murmur of alien voices rose. Surprise, amusement, contempt. The entire event lasted less than 10 seconds. Observers expected outrage from Earth. Instead, the human delegation off-world issued no protest. A distant transmission from Seoul simply requested that the Empire treat our envoy with courtesy and return him unharmed. The lack of anger puzzled Imperial authorities. When other species were insulted, they threatened retaliation. Humans only waited. The arrested diplomat was transported to a secure chamber beneath the palace, a vault lined with gravitic dampeners, surveillance fields, and layered security protocols. No unauthorized signal could enter or leave. He was placed on a single bench under bright lights. The door sealed behind him. At exactly 14 hours, 32 minutes, and 40 seconds standard time, Imperial records show that every monitoring device in the palace registered a simultaneous fluctuation. Energy readings spiked. Internal communications went dark. Security AI nodes crashed. then rebooted in panic. Automated defense turrets cycled into standby mode without command input. Doors across the entire complex locked and unlocked in random sequence. 19 seconds after his arrest, every fleet commander in orbit around the capital received an untraceable signal containing only 3 words in perfect Imperial standard. Stand down now. The message could not be traced to any origin. It carried no encryption stamp, yet every security layer accepted it as authentic. Sensors detected no incoming ships, no energy buildup, no fleet signatures. The planet itself was calm, but in those 19 seconds the Empire felt a cold presence pressing against its throat. The human remained seated in the cell, hands still cuffed, wearing the same faint smile. He spoke to no one, gave no instructions, and seemed utterly unconcerned. In the council chamber above, chaos spread. Ministers demanded answers. Admirals barked orders to scan for cloak vessels, to recheck planetary defense grids, to verify fleet status. No anomaly was found, yet all across the capital, citizens whispered as news spread faster than sensors could contain it. Someone or something had reached into the heart of Imperial power and switched it off like a lamp. The Emperor demanded an explanation from his intelligence chiefs. They produced nothing but conflicting theories. Perhaps a cyber attack from unknown human networks. Perhaps a new form of stealth weaponry. Perhaps coincidence. But no coincidence ever paralyzed an entire planet's defense in 19 seconds. The humans' arrest had been intended as a show of force. Instead, it was the Empire that looked powerless. Guards reported that the prisoner did not struggle, did not complain, and did not even ask for water. When questioned, he merely looked at them with calm gray eyes and said, "I hope you're not frightened. That would be unfortunate." No threats, no boasting, just an unsettling serenity, as if he knew something no one else did. That night, in sealed council chambers, debates raged. Some urged the envoy's execution to prove Imperial resolve. Others warned that such an act might trigger retaliation of unknown scale. No one could explain how a single unarmed man had caused their most secure systems to falter. Humanity's distant representatives remained silent, refusing to issue any formal protest, refusing even to acknowledge the arrest. This silence was worse than outrage. Outrage was predictable. Silence meant calculation. It meant patience. The arrest was intended to humiliate humanity. Instead, it humiliated the Empire. 19 seconds of silence had shattered its illusion of control. Investigators scoured the capital world for signs of sabotage, but nothing was found. Power grids were stable, security fields intact, weapon systems fully functional. Yet the evidence was undeniable. In less than half a minute, the throne world's entire defense lattice had been paralyzed without a shot fired. The Emperor demanded answers. Admirals demanded blood. Intelligence officers demanded time. None could explain what had happened. The human prisoner remained calm, sitting in his cell as if he were waiting for an appointment rather than enduring Imperial custody. Every interrogation began with simple questions, his purpose, his affiliations, his technology, and ended with unnerving silence. He answered politely, with no hostility, no evasions, but his words meant nothing and revealed less. "I told them not to," he said when asked about the mysterious broadcasts of fleets. He refused to clarify who they were. He refused because he didn't need to explain. The Empire already feared the answer. Fleet captains who had received the signal described it the same way. A calm human voice that felt personal, as if the speaker knew them individually, addressing them by name though no name was spoken. It carried no encryption key, no traceable origin, yet reached every command ship simultaneously. No countermeasure could block it. And when the message ended, a strange dread lingered among the crews, an intuition that obedience was survival. Rumors spread to the capital like fire. The word human became a warning, whispered by soldiers patrolling the palace. Delegates from other species withdrew from the Grand Hall without waiting for Imperial permission. In remote systems, Imperial governors locked down trade lanes, claiming they had seen human vessels appear where none should exist, vanish before interceptors had closed, or linger long enough to remind them who truly held power. The High Council convened an emergency session. Opinions clashed in brutal tones. Some demanded war, claiming Earth must be crushed before it spread its influence. Others argued that war would be suicide against an enemy capable of disabling planetary defenses without firing. When asked how humanity achieved such feats, no one had an answer. Cyber warfare? Impossible. No known human technology could infiltrate Imperial systems at that scale. Advanced stealth fleets? Ridiculous. Humanity had no navy large enough to threaten even a single border sector. Sorcery? Ludicrous. Yet no one laughed. The Emperor ordered deeper surveillance on the prisoner. Medical scans showed nothing unusual. Brain activity was within normal human range. No implants, no enhancements, no detectable transmissions. The man sat alone in a sealed cell, smiling faintly, as though watching invisible allies at work. Guards swore that when they looked at him, they felt observed in return, as if unseen eyes were behind his calm gaze. That same day, Imperial intelligence nodes across multiple star systems began to fail in synchronized intervals. Not destroyed, simply pause for exactly 20 seconds at a time, then restore without damage. Each failure coincided precisely with moments when a human prisoner shifted his posture, crossed his legs, or adjusted his cuffs. No cause could be established, but the timing was undeniable. In distant sectors, Imperial patrol fleets reported encounters with unidentified contacts. Long-range sensors recorded human signatures where no registered human ships should exist. Attempts to intercept resulted in nothing. The signals vanished instantly, leaving confused crews and angry commanders. Merchants whispered that human freighters traveled freely through restricted zones, unchallenged by pirate lords who suddenly disappeared without explanation. None of these stories reached official reports intact, but every officer knew the rumors were true. By the third day of the envoy's captivity, tension at the palace reached breaking point. Ministers spoke in hushed voices, avoiding eye contact as if humanity could overhear. Admiral Trevitt presented a plan to mobilize the core fleets, warning that weakness invited rebellion from other species, as much as from Earth. But when he attempted to broadcast his orders, his flagship systems froze for 20 seconds. Every monitor aboard displayed coordinates pointing not to Earth, but to his own birthplace. The message was clear. Humanity knew who he was and where he came from. The diplomat in the cell was informed of Trevitt's fury. He merely shrugged. "It's nothing personal," he said quietly, though no microphone picked up his words. Somehow, the admiral heard them anyway. Across the empire, fear turned into paralysis. Governors hesitated to enforce decrees. Shipyards delayed production. Military academies whispered that human intervention was unstoppable. Every attempt to measure humanity's capabilities failed because there was nothing to measure. No fleet buildup, no weapon tests, no unusual energy signatures. Only silence. Only 19 seconds of silence that spoke louder than any bombardment. The Emperor demanded an interrogation with full sensory recorders, truth drug injections, and deep mind scans. The human agreed without protest. The results terrified the examiners. The man's mind contained no special knowledge, no hidden commands, no trace of resistance to Imperial techniques. He was exactly what he appeared to be, an ordinary diplomat. Yet every time the scans deepened, surveillance systems in the palace flickered, and outside in orbit, fleets received phantom alerts to stand down. The High Council finally realized what it faced. Humanity's power was not a weapon they could seize, not a technology they could reverse engineer. It was willpower, coordination, something invisible, everywhere at once, ready to strike or simply to remind them it could. The Empire had spent millennia believing that strength lay in the size of its armies. Humanity demonstrated that true power required no armies at all. At 14 hours, 52 minutes standard time, the Emperor convened his war cabinet. Yet before he could speak, the palace lights dimmed for 20 seconds. Every personal communicator in the room lit up with the same words. "This is your only warning." No voice, no face, just text, displayed in flawless Imperial standard. When the lights returned, the Emperor's face was pale. He dismissed the admirals and summoned only his closest advisors. The prisoner was moved again, into a cell buried beneath kilometers of rock and shielded by experimental fields designed to block any signal. But it made no difference. The interruptions continued. Entire fleets froze mid-transit, navigational AI halting in fear of phantom collisions. Colonial governors received personal messages containing the exact number of their private security staff, as if unseen observers were counting their guards one by one. In the core sectors, citizens woke to find their banking systems inaccessible for 20 seconds at a time. No damage occurred, but the message was obvious. Humanity could reach anywhere. Interrogators asked again what humanity wanted. The envoy answered simply, "We want to be left alone." No threats, no demand for tribute or territory, only a request stated without emotion. But it sounded less like a plea and more like a verdict. The Imperial High Council no longer debated whether to release the human envoy. The question had shifted to how quickly they could do it without appearing to beg. Weeks of fear had broken their certainty. Entire fleets stood idle, captains waiting for orders that no one dared give. Governors ignored directives. Merchants rerouted trade. Soldiers spoke the word human like a curse. The Empire's power had not been destroyed by weapons. It had dissolved under the weight of invisible pressure. The Emperor convened a private audience deep within the palace, with only his most trusted ministers present. The human Diplomat, still in chains, entered the chamber with his usual calm smile. He offered no demand for freedom, no plea for mercy. When asked what humanity wanted, he repeated the same words spoken since his arrest: "Leave us alone." Nothing more. No list of concessions, no threats, no offers of alliance. The simplicity was terrifying. It implied strength too great to require bargaining. The Emperor, whose voice had commanded armies for centuries, faltered. The memories of 20-second blackouts, the messages sent to fleet captains, the coordinates pointing to the heart of Imperial worlds, all pressed against him like cold iron. When he ordered the chains removed, the envoy thanked him politely, as though nothing unusual had occurred. The gesture made every minister shiver. The Empire signed a non-aggression pact that humanity had not even asked for. The agreement recognized Earth as neutral, sovereign, and untouchable. In official records, it was presented as a gesture of imperial magnanimity. In truth, it was surrender. No war had been fought, no blood spilled. But every ruler in the room understood who held power. Whispers spread faster than any decree. In border systems, Imperial officers ordered their ships to steer clear of human space without waiting for formal instruction. In markets across the galaxy, traders began treating human credits as a stable currency, more reliable than Imperial coinage. Alien ambassadors who had once ignored Earth now courted its favor. They did not know what humanity had done during those 20 seconds. They only knew what the Empire had not done: fight back. Historians would later search for evidence of a weapon, a fleet, a technology beyond comprehension. They found nothing. Human shipyards showed no surge in production. Human colonies displayed no sign of military expansion. Communications between Earth and its distant settlements remained routine. Yet wherever Imperial intelligence looked, it found traces of quiet human presence. A freighter passing through Forbidden Sector unchallenged, a mining outpost guarded by no one yet never raided, a rumor of ghost ships appearing and vanishing like smoke. The more the Empire searched, the less it found, and the less it found, the more afraid it became. The Emperor's authority eroded. Noble houses whispered that his throne had been shaken by a single unarmed man. Admirals plotted against each other, each terrified that humanity had marked them personally. When critical systems faltered for 20 seconds at random intervals, no one believed it was coincidence. Banks lost access to ledgers. Defense satellites paused in orbit. Entire sectors went silent, not destroyed, merely reminded that someone unseen was watching. Every pause ended cleanly, without damage, as though humanity was proving a point. Power did not require violence. The envoy departed the capital without ceremony, refusing escort, refusing gifts, refusing even to meet the Emperor a second time. As he boarded a simple freighter, Imperial officials stared at him as though he carried a weapon capable of splitting planets. He offered only a parting phrase: "I am glad you listened." Then he left, unarmed, unharmed, and unhurried. The impact was immediate. In distant star systems, governors issued secret orders to avoid human contact entirely. Fleet commanders redirected patrol routes. Alien diplomats revised treaties in Earth's favor without being asked. No one wanted to test whether the warnings would return. The phrase 20 seconds entered the galactic lexicon as a measure of terror, a reminder that empires could fall in less than a minute. Inside the empire, fear became chaos. The High Council fractured. Trevith, the loudest voice for war, was found dead in his private quarters, his security systems disabled for exactly 20 seconds during the night. No intruder was detected, no weapon recovered, no signs of struggle, only silence. Other admirals resigned quietly, citing personal reasons, though all knew the truth. They had no wish to command fleets against a species that could reach them anywhere. Across the galaxy, other powers drew the same conclusion. If humanity could humble the Empire without fleets or armies, then humanity was either impossibly advanced or impossibly united. Both possibilities were terrifying. Nations that once dismissed Earth now sent envoys bearing gifts. Trade lanes that had been dangerous became mysteriously safe when human ships appeared. Raiders avoided them. Smugglers avoided them. Even Imperial tax collectors gave them a wide berth. Years passed, but the fear did not fade. The Empire never regained its old arrogance. Historians call the incident a diplomatic crisis, but those who lived through it knew better. It was not diplomacy. It was dominance without battle, control without occupation. Humanity had revealed nothing of its methods, only its resolve. No document ever explained what truly happened in those 20 seconds. Some claimed humans had developed an unmatched cyber warfare system. Others swore they controlled hidden fleets of autonomous warships. A few whispered that humanity possessed no weapons at all, only the will to act together so perfectly that their enemies could not comprehend it. The truth remained elusive because humanity never clarified, and no one dared press for answers. When Imperial archivists tried to piece together the timeline, they found inconsistencies. Some fleets reported receiving the warning message 19 seconds after the envoy's arrest. Others reported 21. Some governors claimed their systems went dark twice. Others said 3 times. Every account agreed on only one thing. The Diplomat never moved, never resisted, and never seemed surprised. On Earth, life continued without change. Governments issued no triumphant statements. The envoy who had been arrested returned to obscurity, declining interviews, vanishing into ordinary service. Yet across the galaxy, his quiet smile became legend. In marketplaces, in military academies, in the chambers of kings, one warning repeated endlessly: never corner a human. The Empire learned to speak politely to every representative of Earth. Border disputes ended with a single human word. Trade agreements tilted heavily in humanity's favor. No one complained. It was better to lose a little profit than to risk 20 seconds of darkness. Even species hostile to humans avoided open conflict. The galaxy, for the first time in centuries, grew cautious. Generations later, historians described the event as the day the Empire bowed. They argued about what humanity had done, but the facts were plain. No weapon was fired, no threat spoken, no soldiers deployed. An unarmed man had walked into the throne of a galactic superpower, been chained, and walked out free. 20 seconds had undone 11,000 years of Imperial arrogance.